Hey guys, so I was at a farrier event recently and I was quite surprised to see that there wasn't any lectures on social media. There was 2 days of lectures and mainly about how to fix horses or, different shoeing types and research that's been done, which I'm a huge advocate for. I have actually done a higher education degree, so I do appreciate the value that goes into learning about shoeing horses. But also, this is part of our industry, and it's becoming more and more prevalent as days go on. More people are getting into it, more people are trying to create social media accounts. So I wanted to share my experience. I have grown my social media accounts to a collective of 700,000 followers across all my platforms. On my TikTok account is my most popular, and I have 550,000 followers, which is amazing. And I find it fascinating that people want to learn about horseshoeing or people want to watch me do my job, and I really want to promote healthy posting. So what I've done is I've written down a few key points that I just want to quickly go over today. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into these in more detail and share my experience, because as well as sharing my horseshoeing videos to people who want to watch me shoe horses, I also want to share what I've learned about social media. So let's start with where I started. I set up my social media to promote a web shop that I built in 2020, and I was promoting products to farriers. So basically I was making videos online, and because of lockdown, social media was the best place to advertise, and it didn't cost me as a company anything to do. However, what happened was my videos started gaining masses of traction, and I didn't know why. It wasn't until I was getting my hair cut and my barber turned around to me and she said, "Oh my God, that video you posted was incredible." And I was like, I don't know. I was like, what are you on about? And anyway, she explained to me how much she enjoyed it. So actually, that made me pivot a little bit and start to understand and deep dive into what people wanted to see and who the audience was going to be. Now, there are a lot of horse owners out there, so the statistics are crazy. And online, this is what I've found, that there are around 10 million horses in the US, and there's between 200 and 850,000 horses in the UK, and that's just two countries. So if I'm creating content and I'm sharing my job, I've got a responsibility to show the good side of farriery to horse owners out there, but also alike people who might not have horses and just enjoy watching the videos. So yeah, I really enjoy that, and I'm a real advocate of portraying farriery in a good light and actually showing a professional image of what a farrier does, and how much care we take and how much knowledge we have, because that's really great to express to horse owners what we do as an industry and how much we care, the compassion we have. So as I said before, I deep dived into what made my social media successful, and what I've done is I've actually taken the time out to write down 5 key points to anyone starting out in social media that are really important. And these things are sort of important to understand, but also important to keep a record of as you're creating social media. So let's start with, these are in no particular order either. I've written them down just for point of reference, and let's just start at the top and work down. Authenticity. So everybody has something. I set my social media up as For Farriers by Farriers because that's what my web shop was called, and I've stuck with it. I could have changed my social media to James Hague Farriery or James Hague and started a personal brand, but that was up to me, and I'm quite happy with the brand. It does mean that in the future I can bring people in if I want to. If I want to start to grow my social media and change it in any direction, it gives me that flexibility. If you set up your social media as your personal brand, it does limit you. But then I guess from another perspective, a social media brand which is personal is more welcoming and more people will sort of relate to that. So there are positives to either way, and I don't think either are right or wrong, because there are huge social media platforms with personal brands, and obviously like mine, where it is a personal brand and I do promote myself, but it is a name. So it's up to you, and I think that's quite important. But authenticity is very important. And I think you've got to show a real perspective of what you do, and I think that's one thing that customers and viewers on social media and followers really find attractive in when they're looking for content, because I think to show a real side of what we do and be authentic and show the care that we put in, it's very important, because I sometimes don't think my followers, I don't think my customers, my own farrier customers, sometimes understand the amount of emotional investment I put into my job, or even the care or the learning outside of that. So I think authenticity is really important. Don't try to be me. Don't try to be somebody else. Create a social media page or promote content which is you, which you like and you're happy with. So I think authenticity is quite important. Engagement. Now, this is something I struggle with, and I've got loads of followers. I struggle with engagement, and you know, when you've got a home life, it's very difficult, because most people will be engaging on social media after work, especially around 8 or 9 p.m. In the UK. Other parts of the country, other parts of the world, should I say, will be engaging at different times. So you've got to look at the clock. Like early afternoon's a good time to engage with my American audience, and my Australian audience is first thing in the morning. So engagement is important, and I think you've got to do what's right for you and do what works for you. But definitely reply to those comments, and, you know, if anyone asks a question, make a video on it. Actually show your followers that you are present and you're not a bot that's just going to run your site. So I think engagement's important. Like I said, I am going to make other videos and go into these in more detail. Consistency is another very difficult point when you are a working farrier or a working anything. If you are, you might not be a farrier and you might be watching this. Consistency is very difficult, and it is super hard. I did hear something which has stuck with me throughout this. And the phrase is, you must be average for an above average period of time. And I think that rings true, because a lot of people will start social media and then they might get a spike, and then it might flatten out. And then they might go, oh, well, this hasn't worked. And that's it. They leave. But actually, you just need to keep posting at a consistent rate, consistent content, do what people want, and continue to do that. You've got to build a schedule that suits you, though. And this is one thing that I've really struggled with. I get up to work every day, and anyone who runs their own business that's self-employed understands how up and down that can be, and plans can change at the drop of a hat. But it's very important to try and make some sort of schedule to make sure that you're consistent. If you only post once a week on a Friday at 9 p.m, that's consistency. That's okay. If you only post on a Sunday and a Monday, that's okay. If you post every single day, again, that is fine. And I've not quite worked this one out for myself, and this is something that I'm going to do more investigating about, is the amount of posting. Because I think it fluctuates. Like, you see different pages saying, oh yeah, you need to put out 3, 4, 5 videos a day. Yeah, that's great. But sometimes when the platform isn't working for you, you can put out as many videos as you want and you will lose followers. So I think it comes down to quality. I think if you can put out 5 quality videos a day, then great, do it. If you can put out only 1 quality video once a week, that's better than putting out a load of crap. So that's my opinion on that one. Camera angles and shots, that kind of comes into the authenticity. It kind of comes into the consistency. I have a great setup where I will show you this when I do an in-depth video, how I record my content. And I think doing it in a way that's consistent is great. But I think capturing what you're doing is super important. And whether that is capturing you working in close-up or in wide, you know, in long shot, that doesn't matter. I think whatever style you go with, it's good to sort of remain with that style. So whatever setup you find, I think that's important. But that is a topic which will need some thought, and I will need to show you what I do and maybe give you some inspiration to play around with your cameras or whatever you use. And then lastly is description and hashtags. This is important, and this is something I've had to learn. I've not been very good at this. Some videos pop and they just blow up out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh my god, why? It could be as simple as the first few seconds of your video. That is when you are going to engage with your followers. And if the first few seconds of your video are interesting, engaging, you put a description that people want to read, or a little caption on the video which hooks people, that's super important. And again, if you are known for a certain thing, which goes back to the authenticity, as soon as your video pops up, people are going to feel comfortable with watching that video because they will recognize that style. So again, all of these are encompassed in each other, and I think individually, if you work them all out, they come as a plan. And the hashtags. I think sometimes the unknown hashtags are better because you reach audiences. But I do read a lot on this, and lots of people say hashtags don't push your videos. What hashtags do is when people search for videos, your video will come up. So if you, for example, use the hashtag FYP, which I like to do, you are competing with, I don't know, let's say 5 million other people using that hashtag, because it's been used 5 million times. If you were to use the hashtag hoofcare, and it's only been used 11,000 times, you're only competing with 11,000 videos. So I think play around with the hashtags, use commonly used hashtags within your industry, and I think also if you want to reach a wider audience or try it, you can use the hashtags which are more commonly used. But I think that's something which TikTok have definitely changed now. They only allow you to use 5 hashtags, which I think is better, because I think when you're putting out loads of hashtags, it sometimes confuses the algorithm. And I went through a period actually of posting videos without hashtags and letting them find their audience, which was fine. And I trialed it. I did it for about 3 months, and my videos were just steady. They'd sort of found their audience, whereas I think using more specific hashtags is definitely good. Now, there is a full breakdown of your engagement and your content stats within the platforms. You can find this, and from time to time it is really good to look at this. So I will share some tips and tricks along the way of how to find out things if you're interested. But for now, I wanted to make this first video super simple, and I wanted to introduce myself. I'm James. I set up For Farriers by Farriers in 2020, and I've grown to a following of around 700,000 across all my platforms. So I want to share this with you. I don't think there's anyone in the industry that I've seen which is helping people with social media. I went to a farrier event recently, and I was quite disappointed to not see any there. So I have put my name forward to stand up next year and actually do a presentation, because I think this is really important. I think there's some really key facts around GDPR, representation of the farrier industry, and putting out good information. I think there's a lot more to this than just posting videos, and you can cause a world of pain for yourself by putting out videos and not following procedures. On top of this list, there are other things. These are just the key things I want to start with. GDPR and actually gaining permission for posting your videos is something which I'm going to talk about in depth in the future. But anyway, guys, I'm going to cut this short because I don't want to make this video too long. I want to make this into a bite-sized chunk of information. This was just an introduction, so please drop in the comments if you'd like to see or learn anything. If there's anything you're particularly confused about or you would like me to talk about, I'll put a video together. I'm going to try and put some time aside and do this for you guys because I think it's great. And I've always said this, it doesn't matter if you do well. It doesn't stop my success. And that's the really important thing about social media. We're not competing. We can work and we can coexist in this space. I would love everyone to have glorious social media platforms and do well, because it doesn't affect me. And if I can help, let's do it. So anyway, drop a comment, like, subscribe, you know, all the usual stuff, and I will catch you soon.